Fight me!
Hello, 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 hello. Hopefully we are live. I hate having technical difficulties, but you know we work them out, and the show must go on, and we will continue. How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. What's up, everybody? Make some noise. Make some noise for yourselves because you have made it through yet another week in 2023. It feels like time is going super fast. I can't believe it's already almost the end of February. I'm about to turn 30. I can't believe I'm about to turn 30. That is insane to me. That is just wild that I am like coming up on less than a month till I'm 30. It is time flies way too fast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the stream. Tonight we have another amazing interview guest here on Between Dos Mundos. I am super stoked to have this. We had a great guest on last week, and we are going to continue that streak tonight. We have an amazing guest. Without further ado, Kevin Munoz is an immigrant from Guatemala and DACA recipient with a strong intellectual curiosity and a passion for exploring a variety of topics that he believes deserves greater attention within the Latin American community. These topics include business, finance, technology, politics, and mental health, among others. The Latin American Educational Opportunities Podcast, which aims to inspire other immigrants that despite having the cards stacked against them in a foreign country, they are in control of their own lives. So he is the host and creator of that. Super excited to hear more about his story. Kevin is someone who I could say I genuinely watched their content. Like before inviting them here onto the show, I just watched, I was just an observer. I was somebody who just enjoyed the work that they were putting out. It's super educational. It helps me keep in the loop. There's so much news going on that sometimes it's hard to stay track of everything that's happening at once. So he places great information out there in, short form content on Instagram. That's where I see it. And it's beautiful because it really helps me just stay up to date with what I need to know. And there's just like so much going on. Welcome on in, everybody. Hello, Sundere. Hello, Queen. We live. Yes. Thank you. Been waiting for the week. Been waiting all week for this. Thank you so much. Hey, I'm very excited. And now let's do a quick podcast introduction. Cut to that, and then when we come back, you will see Kevin on your screen. So let's go. Oh, hey, welcome. What's up, Kevin? How you doing?
What's going on? Happy, energetic, and I just want to get into it and have a good conversation with you. I'm so happy that you invited me on here. So
that's what's up. Hey, yeah, man. Like I said, when I gave you the introduction, I watch your content like before even like thinking about having you on as a guest, and before I was even really like creating a podcast like this again. I just watched. I was just an observer, and I loved it because it really keeps me informed with what's going on. Please tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I could read your introduction, but nobody knows you as good as you do.
Yeah, no, amen. No, first of all, I want to say thank you. No, it makes me happy to hear that you genuinely enjoy the content that I'm putting out, and it's just so much going on in the world that I always think you can never be too educated, and that's just kind of what drove me to start the podcast and start sharing content like that on social media, because you can never be too educated, right? And a little bit about myself is, as you mentioned, I am an immigrant from Guatemala. I was born over there. I came over when I was 7 years old, and we weren't really like many immigrants. You don't really know where you're gonna end up. Like you have an idea, but I lived in California for a year, Denver, Colorado for 2 years, and then finally we just settled in New Jersey over here where we're at now. And even then we still moved around a lot, right? Just because like jobs and rent and all that. But yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I'm also a DACA recipient, which for those that don't know is deferred action for childhood arrival, which just kind of lines up with my backstory, right? Because it was a program that was given by an executive order that was done by Obama in 2012, and we took advantage of that, and when my parents heard about it, we got a lawyer and we made sure that I was eligible for it, and me and my sister were, and that's helped us so much. That's helped us work in a country where we didn't have like a social security number. It
Mm-hmm.
helped us remove the fear of driving without like being unlicensed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like immigrants can have license in certain states, but
Yeah.
before that, there wasn't anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a little bit myself, and the podcast is kind of just share um, just that side of like that story, that side of the struggle of the immigrant struggle, but also that despite all that, like we can thrive in this country if we just apply ourselves in and educating ourselves in the system and how it works. So that's just what I strive to do through my content.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, and the only way to strive is to have like knowledge of resources and access to them, like because it's all out there.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like it's just so much out there that it's real hard to figure out like where to even start. That's like the trouble that I had. I remember when applying for FAFSA for college, like my mom was not tech savvy. She didn't know like about computers or anything. She didn't really know the processes or anything. So to me at that time, figuring out FAFSA was so complicated. And
Yeah.
yeah, man, that was like a little bit before like subreddits and stuff where you could find
Yeah.
and seek these answers. So I wish I had that content back then for
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So definitely would love to start at like the beginning of your story. And then make our way towards like when you started the podcast. Could you tell me a little bit about, moving here at 7? What memories do you have like before that? Because you basically, grew up your whole life
Yeah.
here.
Um, so if we were talking about, you want like memories as in like the memories I had in my home country,
Yeah.
or just okay, yeah. So before coming here, I have memories of just a lot of outdoors because like everything's outdoors over there. I lived in like the valleys, basically in like a pueblo in the valleys, and the only thing to do really was go and like pick coffee beans, and like everyone had their own like coffee farms. Um, so that's just what I did as a child. With if it wasn't with my dad, it was like with my uncle, and I have like really fond memories of like riding horses in the mountains and the trails to go to these like coffee farms, as well as just like one precious memory that really holds dear to my heart is one that when my uncle like showed me how to like milk a cow, like that was like very like core memory.
It's stuck in your mind.
Yeah, like very core memory, as well as my grandpa um giving me honey from like the beehives. Like he had some he had like a honeycomb and like a bee farm,
Mhm.
and we would always help him with it. And every time I just remember him being on like a ladder and like just handing us off some like fresh honey. Like that's also like another core memory.
Damn.
um so yeah, things like that, a lot of like just a lot of enjoying nature and like life,
Hmm.
um and what mother nature gives us over there, really. As well as playing a lot of soccer. Our house was like right next to like a soccer field, so
Hmm. Yeah,
a lot
man,
of
and
that,
that
yeah.
sounds like an ideal childhood. Like my wife's in the chat right now. Hi, Sundere. She said that sounds like my childhood. She grew up in Colombia. Same kind of aspect, small town. I didn't get that. I grew up in like Long Island, 45
Yeah.
minutes out from the city, where it's suburbs, but it's not countryside like that. I don't really have
Right.
memories or anything, experiences like that with like the cows and the farms and all that. Like, so that's like super cool to me when I go back and visit Colombia and I visit her family. Her
Yeah.
grandma's got like these roosters in the back and like all
Yeah,
these
basically, yeah.
plants. Yeah, and I'm just like a
Yeah.
little kid like in this new
Yeah.
wonderland because I never got to experience any of that.
Yeah.
So uh if you don't mind me asking, what was like behind
Yeah.
the decision for your family deciding to immigrate here?
Yeah, the biggest decision, which is like many immigrants can relate to, is just they want a better life for their kids. They want us to grow up in an environment where we can be whatever we want. Like where they gave us the best odds to succeed and have the life that we want, which is, I always say like over there it's a different, in Guatemala it's a different lifestyle, but unfortunately like there's just not as many resources as there are here to take advantage of. um you live far away from the city as well. It can be hard, and as a child you only go so far in school before you're basically obligated to go and just work, right? Do like manual labor,
Yeah.
and help out the family, because it's either you either choose your education and then you're not helping out the family. It's not really an option like
Yeah.
to choose between the two.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, when you grow up in that environment, a lot of people end up in developing like problems with like alcohol, and drugs, and obviously that happens here too, but even more to another level when that's all that you're like constantly exposed to, and
Hmm.
that's seen like as an outlet. I think that's like a major outlet over there,
Hmm.
which is also I feel like an issue.
Yeah. So like kind of like more of like a desperation and lack of opportunities will lead you to
Yeah,
coping with that, and a common way to cope with that is alcoholism or turning
exactly.
to other substances. um
Yep,
so
yep.
did your parents moved here, obviously, like, and we could talk about that later, kind of like what the American dream was to you back then and if
Right.
that's changed to you at all. But I'm assuming that's like what was in their mind as well, because that's what was in the mind of my parents.
Mm-hmm.
My family wasn't doing, they were pretty well off. They weren't like super rich, but they were definitely middle class in Dominican Republic. They were, had careers, went to university. But still, something in the 90s made them want to move to New York. It seemed like, the way that it's portrayed in the media was kind of like their mentality back then, where it's like, go to New York, work hard, and you can move your way up and give your
Yeah.
children more opportunities than they would have had if you had stayed. Um, it's that kind of like what it was for your family.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it was. I think that's exactly how it is even still for like family members when when we talk to them in Guatemala, they still, they're also thinking about like coming over here, and like they talk about that same like American dream, be whatever you want type of thing. And yeah, that still holds to this day. I think the biggest wake up call, or kind of like, wow, like we actually did something here, was when we purchased our home, and like it's our own little like precious little piece
Yeah.
of home literally
Yeah, yeah.
here. So that was like a big like, wow, we actually did that despite like not even being born here.
Yo, that's huge.
And
Like a huge
yeah,
symbol of of American dream and of
right.
his home ownership, like having this
Yeah.
place that you could call yours.
Yeah, and then so I mean that's when that happened. Like I tell you, we literally like cried at the closing table because we're like, wow, like we didn't even think this was gonna be possible.
Hmm.
Like so that in itself speaks volumes on like on like what they pictured, right?
Hmm.
That's when they pictured when they're moving over here, and they're like, and we made like in their heads are probably like we made like the right decision, right? Because they see how educated we came up, and
Hmm.
all the opportunities that we've been given here that we would never have gotten over there.
Yeah, yeah. And so has your idea of the American dream changed from when you were younger to now that you're covering kind of topics of politics and more, you've been to college, like has that changed at all?
In a sense of like, I think for me, it has more kind of, if anything, it's added on to it. For me, like the most thing you like, the best thing you can have is like freedom of your time, and really just like traveling, right? And it's funny because like I think the perspective here is that the American dream is to like move to America, buy a house and all that. But it's just like when you're in America, it's just like you want to travel outside of America. And it's just like
Yeah.
what more is there out there? And then
Hmm.
on one end, it's like I'm fortunate enough that I was born in Guatemala, so I was fortunate to like see that side and grow up in that, and see outside of the United States, because you do gain like perspective of life
Yeah.
from that. But yeah, to answer your question, I feel like it's kind of um I've kind of just developed the like my own American dream. But I feel like what they sell you on is just work, and that's the side that I kind of, as I gained more education, um realize that that's what they tell you on. It's just working and working and working, and it's just
Mhm.
like you see your parents working and they have no time even for themselves. That it's just like that's not how it should be, and it just makes you kind of reevaluate the American dream. And it's just like you shouldn't someone shouldn't be working that much, and not making enough progress.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of that's when you see it from a business perspective as like the marketing side of like
Mhm.
the American dream, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Like as I got like a little bit more educated on things and as I started becoming more politically minded and just more like
Right.
independent in the way I thought, not really like relying on what my family traditionally like voted or what they believed, and I created my own beliefs.
Hmm.
I've kind of seen the same thing where it's like um a lot of it is meant to keep you in a state of status quo and just satisfaction, like yeah,
Right.
just keep, if you keep working you'll be all right, you'll be able to maintain yourself and you'll be doing this, which then leads a lot of people to not want to complain and be like, hey, how come I start at like the 20-yard line and that person over there starts at the 50-yard line, and like I'm supposed to compete with that, and like
Yeah.
and then it keeps people from wanting to like make changes to systems that they have no control over, because like this idea of just work hard and you'll be able to move yourself up through the middle class or whatever, that's definitely true to some respect, but
Right.
there's like definitely things that like is out of people's control. Like if we have an
Yeah.
economy that's just full of gig jobs where you have to drive Uber and do 5 other jobs
Hmm.
throughout the day to maintain yourself because there's no good like full-time salary jobs in your area, and that's not out of that's out of your control in some ways, like
Yep.
there's just things that like cities that they do tax breaks to bring companies who bring more jobs, and like if they don't do
Yeah.
that, then there's there's a whole thing universe out there that's like completely out of your control. And I've started to see like you definitely should work hard, you definitely should push
Yeah.
yourself to like challenge yourself and work hard, but like the grind set where people just like it becomes toxic, where it's like, oh, I need to work so hard, and then like I shouldn't complain about anything that's going on because like
Yeah.
it's just on me to be better.
Yeah, right. And that's just like you said, that can be very toxic because it gets you into the whole like mental health part of it. Like, man, I'm not doing enough. And I think a lot of uh whether like it's been brought upon society, but it's also just as an immigrant when you come here to a country, it's just like you feel in debt to your parents for like bringing you here,
Hmm.
or to people that made it a reality to be here. And so you start like you start thinking about like disappointing others, and you start saying like you start feeling guilty for like taking breaks or like having time to yourself, which
Hmm.
is very toxic. And that's just something that's even more like a whole nother conversation beyond um like even like what society and like the type of economy that we live in has pushed on us as well. And it's just
Hmm.
all like convoluted in that just to this bad mix, like this bad batch of like a potion that's just bad mental health, like that just leads to like
Yeah.
bad mental health.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, for sure,
um
man. 100%.
yeah.
I want to read this comment that was left here by Sindere. Yeah, they still have the idea of growth, which is true. You definitely have more resources here than I guess in Latin America, but
Hmm.
sometimes family members in Latin America think that it's so easy to make it, and I would
Right.
see that when I was younger because I had family members that would be asking my mom all the time, like, can you send us some money, can you send us like a box
Yes.
full of like materials, can you send us
Hmm.
this? And
Yeah.
my grandma would do it, she would send stuff as much as she could, but they never really kept in mind that people in the United States are also struggling in their own way. They really thought like,
Yeah.
you guys have enough for you and for us, so keep sending us more. And it was like, yo,
Exactly. No.
we lower middle class up here.
Yeah, no, that's like that's a great way to put it. I'm glad for that comment too, because like that's um that's something I still see, right? It's just like that's from family members in Guatemala. They think that when they come over here, they're just gonna be immediately like rich, but it's
Mhm,
just like they don't consider um the whole like economy here as well, right? Like
mhm,
everything here is so expensive,
mhm,
and you're working like a minimum wage job. You're just barely making it to even stay like have a roof over your head,
Mm-hmm.
and getting out of that is tough, and also communicating that back home is tough because again brings us back to like the American dream, right? Like that's just you go to America and all of a sudden you work hard and you make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's more forces than just working hard, like we've mentioned as well,
Mm-hmm.
that push you down.
Yeah, 100%. And let me read this other comment. The pressure of being able to come here and feeling like you're not doing enough. That's definitely not healthy, but it's so hard to not feel it. Like, yeah, and I'm first generation born here, so my parents came here. I'm the first one like to go to college out of my immediate family and stuff here in the United States. I always felt that like, you got to get a good job. You got to do it like a
Oh yeah.
career that's going to be like good. You should be an accountant, or you should be a doctor, or like, they had
Hmm.
these like specific jobs in their mind that are like,
Right.
these are the jobs that are respectable. And like, I'm going to
Right.
go to family parties and I'm going to feel like real good when
Yeah.
I say my son is a
My
lawyer.
son
Like,
is an engineer. Like,
and then when I'm like, yo, I'm studying communications, they're like, what are you going to do with that? Like,
they're like they're like we're communicating right now. What that means?
yeah.
Like,
All this money for that?
yeah.
And immediately they're just like, oh no, like, are you sure you're gonna be able to get work? Like, is it okay? And I felt those pressures like, we came here to give you opportunity, so you
Right,
better
to
not
say
mess this up.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Got to carry that weight on your back, but it's like it's a toxic thing, because it eats at you from
Mhm.
like
100%,
the
man.
other
And
side.
can you tell us a little bit about life before DACA, because that's something implemented, you said Obama administration. So
Yep.
that's got to be any time from 2008. I don't know if it's first or second
Uh,
term.
so in 2012, it was in 2012, so second when he was going to second term because he's like, hey, look what I did for you guys. And, like,
Mhm.
listen, like it's a great program and stuff, but it has its flaws. And like, did he do it as a political move? Yeah, probably, but also from at least he did it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
because yeah, the timing is not a coincidence. It's when he was going for like a second term and stuff,
Yeah, of course.
but at least he got something done. Um, and to answer your question to life before DACA, um, life before DACA is, which is there was a lot of fear of just going places in general because any wrong move you feel like, or any wrong move, any time that you feel like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time could be like your last day in the United States. It's just that's just how it translates, right? That fear. And to an extent, as a DACA recipient, you kind of still feel that, but at least you have that safety net
Safety
that
net.
is DACA. Yeah. And it was tough going to school with that mindset and seeing like your other classmates like thrive. It was tough growing up in Princeton where a lot of kids had money, and they traveled a lot. Like, when they went to summer, like when it was summer, it's just like, oh, well, where are you going? I was like,
Summer
I'm going
camp.
back home. Like, yeah, this is I'm going back home. And yeah, summer camp. And they're like, oh, we're going to like Paris and like
Uh-huh.
all these other like European countries or some fancy trip. And then, it's just that those kind of things that maybe some other people might not realize, but it hits hard. And also not having like the same type of things, like whether it's like the latest like video game or stuff. And and my parents were like really really good about it because I was young and I didn't really like. I'm like, oh, I want this game and stuff. It's like,
Mhm.
well, that's a lot of money. And like, even they did try their best and got me like a Game Boy and all that stuff. So I was happy with all that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
so I'm so thankful for them to even do that because I'm like, wow, they did that and like still worked and like
Mhm.
put a roof over our heads, make sure we had food and everything. Um, but yeah, that's just a lot of fear, a lot of comparing to other people. And like I said, it's not like these things. It's not like they don't exist today with DACA. They're just on another level, right? When
Mhm.
without DACA. And yeah, just a lot of that, and seeing like what college would go to. Once I got DACA, I was still in high school, so it was like halfway through high school. Um, but even then, it's just like so many kids talking about college, and you're like, yeah, I don't even know if I can go to college. Like,
So you were
that,
aware of your of your
yeah,
situation, because I've
yeah,
heard
I
stories
was.
of like DACA recipients who were like, I didn't
I
even
know.
know that I was
Yeah,
undocumented until it was
yeah,
time
one.
to for college, and my family was like, you can't go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So some people like will find out right when they're applying for college, and I've heard a lot of fellow DACA recipients that have found out that way as well. But I guess for me, one of the things, because I guess they came earlier in their age, I was old enough to remember everything. So I was like, and even if you remembered everything, you might not know what it means to be undocumented, like in the
Mhm.
United States. I knew what it meant already. Just like I didn't realize what I like the actually I didn't realize the limitations till I guess like middle school to high school, right? In the facts of like traveling and working. Um so I always did jobs with my dad as a little kid as well. Just like landscaping jobs. Um and yeah, that's about that's
That's what.
pretty much life without DACA. Just a lot of comparisons, a lot of fear, um, and a lot of like questioning, like why can't I do this? Like why doesn't the government just do
Mhm.
just like I don't know, snap their fingers and do something?
Yeah.
But
I feel that.
yeah,
Damn, man. And so you had mentioned kind of what it felt like. And I related to that with my mom. She never really let us feel like that there was any economic or
right.
financial burdens on us.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm older, I can understand like, oh, yeah, we were on like Section 8 for some time, and like she was going through unemployment and all this, and like, but she never let us feel any of that. She was real good
Right.
at like hiding all that through, things
Yeah.
that weren't always great, like credit card debt and stuff. Um, but I remember so vividly in my mind this one year right before Christmas, I was telling my mom, I was like, oh, my friends are all getting like 4 GameCube games this year, like, and I want this game, this game, this game.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, like, well, maybe only like Santa will bring like one or two. And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, I
But I
behaved
want them
good
all.
this year. Yeah, I behaved good this year. What you mean
Good
Santa's
noodle.
gonna bring it for them and not for me? And like that was the moment where she had to
Yeah.
kind of be like, there is no Santa. I'm the one working, and like we can only afford like one or two of these.
Like,
You
I
can't
am
get.
Santa. You're looking
Yeah,
at Santa.
yeah. And
Oh,
I just
like,
I couldn't comprehend it at the time. I was just like, I behave good. I behave just like my white friends down the block. I behave just like all the other kids that I go to school with. Like, what is this? And like, that's when I started seeing the financial differences, right? Like,
right.
some
Yeah.
of my friends had like both parents in the household. They had
Hmm.
a nice piano as soon as you walked in. This looked like a movie, like one of them like sitcoms where it's like we are a good family. And
Yeah, for real.
so like, what was like the demographic of where you grew up? Like, was there a lot of other Latinos, or what was that like?
Yeah, there was a lot of well, I want to say like there is a lot of there was and there is a lot of Latinos in Princeton. Um it's just it's very obvious because of where everyone lives, right? Like I grew up on like Witherspoon Street. Witherspoon Street is a street where it's just all like Latinos live in because it's like rent and apartments and like the houses aren't in the best shape, but it's enough for
Mm-hmm.
to make rent and do, and you live in one house and like it's just split into different rooms. So there's there's a good amount of Latinos, but w- it's segregated in that way in the housing, and like obviously for affordable housing is a lot of minorities that live there. um when it came to going to school, it was there was a few Latinos, like all the Latinos would know each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of gives you an idea as well of like how many Latinos there were, and majority were white kids. Um, Going into high school, same thing. It's a little bit more mixed now, but it's very hard to thrive in that environment if you're not social.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean I think my lucky stars that I love talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to everybody. So like my experience is most like I mean everyone's experience is different, but my experience is very different than someone else who maybe felt very alone because others wouldn't approach them, right? Like I'm the type of person who would approach people and talk to them and like, yo, what's going on? And I don't get like put off from like some like oblivious like some comment that they probably I'm like, okay, they don't know better. Like their mama
Yeah.
didn't teach them that. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? While someone else might be like
Actually
yo,
racist
we're
or some
fighting.
shit.
Like
Yeah.
or like if they say something like we're fighting. And like well I'm a little more like cool headed and I'm like rationale, like, all right, yeah, like they don't know better. Like
Yeah.
they look at them, like look at them. Like,
Yeah, look
and
at
then like look at them. But yeah, so and it's I think they've gotten a little better over the years as the Latino population has been growing in here in Princeton. But there still needs to be more outreach to them because again they might start skipping school and all that because they don't feel like they belong. So I think there needs to be a bigger push for kids of color just to feel more like integrated into the community because there's an obvious divide in a community, and that's just like the economy. You kind of see that there. It's just like the economy where it's just like tiers to it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely saw that. Like the university I went to, Adelphi, was in like a very nice town, like big trees, big houses, big lawns, and you would go you drive like a couple blocks over, and it's just like the trees are gone. Now it's project buildings and like just like liquor stores and like it was like a very stark contrast where it's like we just left 5 minutes ago. How are we in a completely different environment right now? But you could really see the disparities. So you were like pretty stable in terms of like where you stopped moving like once before you got to high school.
So we moved. So I came here and went in elementary school in New Jersey. Once we moved in New Jersey, I was in elementary school, and from 3rd grade to 6th grade, it was like the same school. I was going to Princeton, and then in 6th grade we moved to Montgomery, which is like a neighboring township, and for purposes that like rent just started to get too high, and so we moved to the neighboring township, which meant a new school. So I spent a year and a half in Montgomery, and I was always trying to convince my parents. I'm like, why don't we move back? Like, that was the frustrating part. I was like, why don't we move back? Like, I just want to be in a stable like environment where like it's tough to move from school to school. And like retrospectively, I'm like, damn, like I was just being like that sounded like a little spoiled brat to our parents. Like, like they're just trying to make it out here, but they're moving because rent spikes and such. And but I did have some reasoning to it. Like and I went to Montgomery for a year and a half. I made friends there, and then I came back halfway through. I think it was like halfway through like 8th grade in middle school, back to Princeton. And once we were there, I just like talked to my parents. I'm like, listen, like high school's coming up. Like I can't be I can't be going to a different high school. Like, can we at least try like stick it out? I'll work. I'll do whatever we need to do. But like, I don't want to be having to transition into another school, make a whole another set of friends and all this and that. So that's. We were still moving a lot within the states up until really high school. But once was when we got to high school, they stuck it out.
Man, so many parts of your story are really like I'm relating to, because I remember so many times my mom being like, the landlord's like trying to increase the rent on us. We got to move. We got to go somewhere else. And I was like, I can't leave my friends. I can't. And I was just being like a spoiled kid. But at the time, it's just so hard for you to fathom, like, I got to start a new school. Like, there's only like 2 years left of school, Mom. I can't start a new high school right now. And thankfully, she was able to like figure it out, and we stuck it out for me and my sister's high school experiences. I felt bad. My little brother got moved like 2020. My family was finally like, all right, Long Island prices are way too much. Everybody's moving to the suburbs right now. Everything is spiking. Right. We got to move to like Pennsylvania. God. And my brother got taken out of his school district like 2 years before graduating. And and during COVID, when he can't even meet anybody, everything is virtual. So he's sitting in his new room just like, I got no friends. Yo, it is horrible.
Wow. How old is your little brother?
he was at the time 16, bro. I was
Okay.
like, damn, I feel for you, man, because like at 16,
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah.
be with my friends and like to have no opportunity to meet anybody, just virtual. That sucked, but he got through. He's like the type who's like on a lot of sports teams and stuff. So once he was able to be in person, it was all right. But like they had him locked up, like you can't go meet nobody right now, bro. And like that shit sucked.
Yeah. Damn. That's tough, man.
It's real tough. And I know this is like a big thing for parents that move to the United States is like they feel some pressure to assimilate to American culture. They want to get here and kind of just blend in, just, you know, do hard work and not get in trouble and just kind of like lay low. What was it like for them teaching you like Guatemalan culture or anything? Like, you know, was Spanish or English your first language? What was that dynamic like of them, you know, coming to a new country,
Yeah.
trying to like set roots here while also like trying to, I
Yeah.
guess, pass down what they learned in their country?
I think one thing of many that they're very good at is like they did like pass on, they carry the same like cultural jewels, if you will, pass it on to me. I like they always spoke Spanish to make sure that I sharpened my Spanish, but also because obviously they didn't speak English that well, so they were more comfortable with Spanish. But like they gave my, even though we were here, they gave my sister like a quinceañera, and I like was part of that, and you know, we still grew up in that, like in that fun culture environment. And we was communicated with family back in Guatemala, and you know they kept a lot of their values, and I think that I'm thankful for because I was also in school in Guatemala, so Spanish was my first language, so I learned a little bit of Spanish, um, and obviously I heard it all my life up until I was 7 years old. It's just the writing and stuff that I wasn't very good at. My sister was better, and then now it's like I'm better in English, and she's better in Spanish. But I mean, now we're both like pretty evenly, but but she's still better at Spanish. And I try to sharpen it with doing like Spanish episodes, and
Yeah.
obviously I'm fluent in both, and I'm thankful for that. You know, I'm thankful that I know both languages, because it does feel like it's just one more skill in my pocket that's just like very useful, and it's also a way to help my community. You know, I've helped like a lot of my dad's friends, like when they need to go to like the like to see a doctor or something, they don't have like a
Translating.
translator.
Yeah.
And yeah, translating is big. So that's a big part of it, obviously. So translating for my parents as well. Um, but yeah, they kept a lot of the cultural stuff with, also with like my mom. She like loves making, she loves cooking and stuff. So she like loved making all that good food and tortillas, and so we always got those different aspects of the culture that they've kept over for, they carried over for years. Um, I think the biggest thing when you talk about like culture though is like being seen by other people in your community as like like the white Latino, or like you know, that from that aspect. I think that's the tough, because I didn't. My sister's more like with the culture from that aspect of like dancing and like
Yeah.
and like and like going to the quinceañeras and all that, and I'm more of like reserved, kind of like, well, I wouldn't say it's so shy, but it's just kind of like I'd rather be home, like playing
Yeah.
video games, or like creating, you know, like content and like and all that, and that was kind of tough. And you know, we're going to parties. It's just like, yeah, this ain't really my scene. Like, you know, and like I'll have fun and stuff, but it's just like, from that aspect, it's just like, oh, why don't you go dance with like your prima, or like
And
go
they mean like traditional dances, like let's say like bachata or merengue or what's like
yeah,
a
yeah, like that. Yeah, like bachata and yeah, like
merengue.
bachata and merengue and all that. And obviously, like I've done that before because I've had to do like a chambalan for like quinceañeras and like do dances and all that. But it's like if I decide to do it, like then you know, I'm fine with it because it's like in my own time, and like I want to do it. But it's just like when I'm in that space, and it's the, music blasting loud. And I'm just like I just want to like after listen. The first part is like it's fun, but like after a point, it's like Latinos just overdo it. It's like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
They've been saying like we're gonna go home since like 12, and then they've been talking to your uncle for like 5 hours.
Yeah,
you,
they
you
party.
fall asleep on the chair, like.
Yo, for real. And is there any like is your family like judgmental when it comes to stuff like that? Like for me, it always felt like my family would make fun of me, like, because I didn't know how to
Yeah.
dance. Merengue,
Right,
bachata,
yeah.
and they're Dominican.
No,
Like
same.
that's like, we
Right.
come out the womb doing that shit.
No.
And
Yeah, for
so
real.
it wasn't until my wife like really just like helped me out, and I still suck, but I at least suck a little bit less, and I could do it in front
Yeah,
of my
there you go.
family without feeling
There you go.
self-conscious. What was it like that with you growing up? Because like I said, a lot of stuff
It was,
I
yeah.
relate to your story. Like my sister grew up with like a group of friends that were all Dominican, and she was definitely
Yeah.
like way more Dominican than I was. Like I
Right,
was
yeah,
hanging
same.
out with like
Yeah.
just white kids, and I liked like my
Right,
mom was like, you
same
like
thing with
anime?
me.
Like there's all these things.
They're
that
like you're
there's-
like watching those cartoons again.
Yo, yeah, straight up.
Mom, they're not cartoons.
Yo, big facts. That has happened to me so many times. I'm like, Mom, they're not cartoons.
Yeah.
But they don't get it. They're just like, what are you watching? And like my sister's not like that. She doesn't like that shit.
Yeah,
Like I guess she
right,
likes
yeah.
like what is traditionally considered more Dominican and Latina.
No, same with my sister, like telenovelas and all that. I'm like, I'm like, I catch my sister watching a telenovela, and I'm like, she's a year older than I am, by the way, for reference. I catch her watching like a telenovela, and I'm like, yo, why do you watch? They're so over dramatized. I'm like, they're like, I mean, it's funny. Like, I'll sit down and
Yeah.
watch it for the funny aspect of it.
Exactly.
I'm like, I can't believe you're watching this in this.
They're like invested. Yeah, they're invested in the
like-
story.
I'm like, look how much they're overdoing it, like with the music and
For
like-
real.
And I'm like, yeah.
And then but the thing is, like, they'll look at anime and they'll be like, look at all this screaming, and they're just fucking yelling for like 10 minutes straight.
Yeah,
and like, why
that's
you like
true,
this?
man. That's true.
But they are sleeping on anime, man. Mad good plots. Thank you, Queen. What's it called? So my wife trying to say that I don't suck at dancing. Like the thing is that like it's comparing yourself, right? I'm comparing myself to my family. So I'm like, I really suck because they're really good.
That's true. And it's just that comparison game that's just
Yeah.
tough. Cause it's just like that's so true, man. Comparing it to like my sister and stuff is like, I get my hips going, but not like that.
And now another question I would love to ask you about, like, I'm very interested in like how people identify when it comes to like, do you say you're Hispanic? Do you say you're Guatemalan? Do you say you're Guatemalan American? Like Latino? Like what is, when people ask you like, where are you from or what are you? Like what's your go-to answer?
Yeah, if they ask me like what I am, I just say I'm Latino. It's just I think it's kind of the most umbrella term for us all, like just Latinos. I'll interchange and say like Hispanic as well, because we still do fall within that definition. So Hispanic and Latinos interchangeably used. And then to be more precise, I say soy guatemalteco. I'm Guatemalan. To other Latinos, like I'll just do soy chapin, or like other Guatemalans, which is it's slang for someone that's from Guatemala. It's like chapin, chapino, or like chapina.
Chapin?
Yeah, chapin and chapina. So it's like you're someone from Guatemala.
Oh, okay. I never heard that one, and that's what I sent you like a
Yeah.
message before the interview. Like if there was any slang you could teach us, I would love to like
Yeah, that was
learn
on
more.
yeah, that was on my list. But yeah,
Chapin.
I brought it up just to
Chapino, chapina.
Yeah, so if you see that even like in a restaurant, sometimes you'll see that.
And it's just neutral, right? It's not like you're not saying like a good thing or a bad thing about anyone. You're just saying like they
No,
are.
it's just like they are Guatemalan. Like soy chapin y orgulloso. Like,
Orgulloso.
Yeah,
Okay.
like using that.
Yeah, they saying in the chat we got to do Guatemalan slangs. We definitely gonna do that towards the end. If you brought any more, I would love to hear.
Yeah, I have a few. I have a few more. Yeah,
That's what's up.
but
Hell
we'll
yeah.
get to it.
Now, have you been to Guatemala like after DACA? Like, does DACA let you travel first off?
Yeah, they do let you travel on advanced parole. What that means is that you have to meet certain criteria that they think is acceptable enough of a reason to travel. Things like that would include education, or like a family member if a family member has health issues, you can travel to go see them. And I think there's like a couple more. There's not that many reasons, but those are the big ones: is education, and that they'll get approved for is education, and like a family member being sick. Um, my sister and I were fortunate enough to travel back to Guatemala, and I think that was in 2000 and I want to say, was it in 2017 maybe? Um, but it was a while ago, and we we got a chance to visit, and that was, it felt like surreal, but at the same time, so many mixed emotions. It's like, yeah, this is the place I grew up in, but you still feel like a foreigner, and you know you're a foreigner because others will let you know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they pick up on, even though you speak Spanish, like you now have an accent, which you probably didn't even realize you did.
Mm-hmm.
And they just know that you're not from there. Um, and there's that aspect, and also just seeing the differences between, like life over there and life over here. But I think it was such an amazing experience because we did get to like visit our family and see people that we grew up with, and again seeing getting more of the culture from over there. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we applied for advanced parole and got approved for it, thank
Hey.
God. And yeah, so that's if anyone's under DACA, definitely recommend applying for seeing if you qualify for advanced parole. And like honestly, it's not too tough. So like you most definitely, if you can find a reason to
Mm-hmm.
get approved for it.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I like to say, oh, real quick, let me read this. So I got a great
Mhm.
friend in the chat right now who's an immigration lawyer. I may
Oh,
or may not
awesome.
know a lawyer whose client just returned from Mexico today after 26 years. It was definitely a culture shock for her, but she
Okay.
talked about just what an overwhelming experience it was seeing
Yeah.
family again. Yeah, and then someone else asked, like, what about the culture
Yeah.
shock, like when you got to
Oh yeah.
Guatemala? What'd that feel like?
Yeah, that's a great point as well. It was it was culture shock, right? It was just so much going on. And it was overwhelming seeing family because they're like, "Oh, like you've grown up so much, like wow, like this, you remember this and that." And I was like looking dead in the face, and in my head I'm like, "I don't even know who this is." Like because
Mhm.
I was so young, and like I feel bad now because they know who I am and they
Yeah.
saw me grow up, and I don't even know who they are. And then my sister, of course, she's like, she'd be my go-to because she was, even though she was a year older, she'd remember everyone.
Hmm.
And I'm like, damn, that's crazy what like a year makes in difference when you're
Of
that
growing
young.
up there, yeah.
Yeah, in like memory,
Hmm.
and what you can remember and everything. So she remembered all the people, and I was like, who's that? And then she'd be like, oh, that's the. I was like, oh, that's cool. Um, but yeah, it's kind of, like from the culture shock perspective, it's kind of intimidating when you go over there because everyone's carrying, like you see people from like the army just in the streets like guarding and carrying like the rifles and stuff,
Hmm.
and it's just like, damn, like you don't see that here. Like
Yeah.
and so yeah, from that perspective, a lot of culture shock. And then it was great though, from like the food and stuff. People were just selling food out, like the street vendors and like
Yeah.
all that stuff. And um so we were just, it was a lot to take in. It was a great experience, but again, it was a lot to take in.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And that's kind of like what, like I used to for a long time just refer to myself as like I'm Dominican, and like it took until like a conversation with my wife where I was like, I'm not Dominican. I have gone through. I'm Dominican American. Like it's a completely different set
Yeah,
of
that's
experiences
true.
and struggles for each one. And like when I went to Dominican Republic, I saw the difference in like how kids that were in my family grew up
Hmm.
there versus how I grew up here. And um it's always awesome going there. It's awesome like spending time there, and I think that's kind of like what humbled me in my childhood. Like my mom and her raising us was always like, if there was ever a time we were being like real spoiled and like not appreciating something, she would always like remind us like, there are kids in Dominican Republic who are your age, and right now they're on the corner somewhere selling bubble gum
Right.
to like cars and stuff. And like I always had that in my mind of like, you know don't take anything for granted. Be appreciative of what you have, because my mom would remind me of, like, there's these kids out there. And then the first few times that I went when I was younger to DR, that was something they like really wanted to like show me, was like, look, you have a great life in the United States, so take advantage of everything that we've tried to give you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'll say that, you say like you're Dominican American and stuff, but I feel like, that's another thing I had to like juggle with is like, like I think a lot of immigrants in first gen had to deal with is like identity crisis. Like, damn, am I like Guatemalan enough? Am I like Dominican enough? And you kind of just have to, for lack of better terms, just like get past that and you evolve in like your own definition of it. And it's just like, you know what, yeah, like and like, you say like, I think something you said was like, you're not Dominican, you're like Dominican Republic, but it's like,
Dominican
at the end of the
American.
day, like, yeah, sorry, Dominican American, yeah. And I was like, it's just, I mean, it's still like it's in your veins, like, just don't let other people tell you what like you aren't like. You're not gonna let someone come and be like, you're not Dominican. It's just like, well, that's not your definition of Dominican. Like, like you're not Guatemalan. It's just like not your definition of whatever you think that is. But like,
Yeah.
it's in our veins. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the
100%.
day, like,
Yeah. Yeah, man. I had someone the other day on TikTok telling me, like, I'm not Latino. Latinos are people
yeah,
who live in
and
Latin
that's
America.
yeah, and that's the worst thing is like, it's one thing getting it from like white people who are just like ignorant and to some like cultural things, but it's another. A lot of this, majority of this stuff, a lot of comments like that come from like your own community, and it's just like you hate to see it because it's just like this is why we don't move forward as a community, is because there's so many like there's so many different personalities and stuff, but we can't come together on like on like one on like one thing. And then there's so many of us, we're like basically the majority in the US. um and if the power that holds, if we came together, is just, it's like insane. But yeah, it hurts on a different level when you see it from your own community. It's just like, bro, come on, like, why can't we just get
Yeah.
along and
hmm
like really, like.
Yeah, bro. And there's no subject more that like I feel that on than immigration, man. Like,
Hmm.
because
Oh yeah.
Latinos are not a monolith on that at all. Like, there's plenty of stories of Puerto Ricans and Cubans down in Florida who vote against immigration, who vote for like Republicans, vote for politicians that don't advance immigration rights. And like,
Right.
is that something you've noticed in like any of the work you've done on your podcast? Just like the differences between how people feel towards DACA within different countries from Latino America?
Yeah, I do. It's just like a lot of it is just dismissing the way that we feel, and it's just like from other immigrants within like that are undocumented without DACA. And I say that because we're still undocumented, but we have DACA. But there's those that are undocumented without DACA that didn't meet certain age limit, and now they got like aged out um
Program.
of the program. But they're like, at least you have DACA, and it's just that kind of thing. And it's just like, yeah, you're right. And it's just like, or like, you shouldn't be complaining because you have DACA and all this. It's just like, well, it's just, you shouldn't invalidate other people's feelings because they have like, it doesn't make me any better, feel any better or anything like that, right? It's like saying like, at least you have this or that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
It's just like, if anything, we should all be coming together and pushing for something as a group, that would help us, that would benefit us all. But it's divided that way. And you see it as well from the work that I've done on my podcast, is when I talk about the political side of things. When there's elections like Trump, and you have like Latinos for Trump, and you see a lot of like Florida Cubans or like like voting for Trump because they're like scared that it'll become like a socialist country. And I think it's that lack of, again, it's that lack of education about the country, and just aware as well of like your environment that leads to that, where like a president like President Trump says something, and they'll just take it to face value. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, we need to learn to, all right, he said this and that, but is that actually like factual? Like,
Hmm.
like, does that make sense? Like, we don't go beyond what's taken, at face value. And I think that's something I strive to do is like go beyond face value, do the research, do the work, because you're just going to get more knowledge from it. And
Hmm.
and you're only going to get better at like fact checking things. And that's going to help you to develop your own reasoning for things. And then if you still make that decision after you've done like all that fact checking and stuff, then it's like, all right, well, that's, that's on you, and you have that
Hmm.
research to at
Yeah.
least back that up. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, you're not just going off of like misinformation, like because
mm-hmm.
it creates a different conversation. Like if I were to talk to somebody who I disagree with, but they at least are on the same plane of reality, right? Like that's a whole different conversation.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, at least we're on the like same plane of reality. That's a great way to
Yeah,
put
bro.
it.
It's a different convo when you're talking to someone who thinks things that are just like completely false. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yo, we dealing with different facts here. It's hard to get
Right.
anywhere with this. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how do you choose like the topics you speak about on your podcast?
Yeah, so a majority of the topics are things that I genuinely find interesting because it like works two ways, right? I'm like, yo, this is an interesting topic. Like, I want to learn more about it. And you know what? Like, other people in the community would probably be interested about hearing about it. And then if they want to learn more about it, they can also look into it and like just listen to the podcast and stuff.
Hmm.
But so it's like a two-way street. That's how I started the podcast, and I still work I still strive with that with that same mission
Hmm.
is learning things, the things that I learn and sharing them with my community, and seeing what they think about it, and if that's similar to like what I think about it. Which is why I also do like a tech segment. Like I do tech episodes because I love tech, and I'm like, I need a way to include that into the podcast so that I am aware of like what's happening and what's evolving in tech, but also because tech is great to know, um in the US and just anywhere really, because that's
Yeah.
just, that's what's progressing so fast. It's so rapid paced. And if you want a job in tech, like, those jobs will get you a lot of money. And it's like, if you're interested into one of those topics that I listed, then maybe you should look into it. And I did an episode with someone like a Latino that is under DACA, who's like a tech engineer. And I'm like, if you resonate with that, like an episode like that, maybe you should look into like, into being a tech like engineer.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, things like that. A lot of things that interest me and I also
Hmm.
think would benefit like the community, and then I just make an episode out of it and then share it on social media
Hell
as
yeah.
well.
And I
And
saw
like current events, of course.
current of course. And I saw so you're a business. You got a business administration degree, correct? You didn't
Yeah,
do like
yeah.
anything in media in school.
No, everything I've learned, I've just I've learned right when I started my podcast. And I just kind of developed, and it's just a thing of striving for greatness, of like,
Hmm.
I want to be better, and you definitely can relate to this, right? Like, how do I take this to the next level? Like, yeah, that was great, but how can that be better? And that's just developing that mindset that'll keep developing your content.
Hey.
And like I always say, like, if you go back to like my Instagram, like my first post, you could like, there's like a stark difference to like what I was doing back then to now.
Yeah.
Um, and as well, with like, short form content and like just
Hmm.
the sound quality as well. You just
Uh-huh.
want to keep something that you're passionate about, and again, something you can relate to. It's just like, um, you're passionate about it. You just want to keep doing it and get the latest like equipment, be better, and like developing your skills, honing them. How can I do this different, and that and that and this and
Yes.
that? And my
Yes.
girlfriend is like, my girlfriend Mariah, shout out to her. She's like such a talented artist. She developed like the logo, so she's like, yeah, I love doing this stuff. So I'll do the logo for you. And like, she's
Hmm.
such a creative mind that she's helped me a lot on the aspects of like the logo and stuff, and like kickstarting it, um, and then the video editing and all that. And now even graphics, like I do myself just from like skills, watching her do it and her teaching me. So
Hell yeah. That's what's up. Yeah. Couples that help each other is amazing, man. Big salute to those partners out there that
right,
support us
yeah,
with the grinds, man. Because, yo, like, I had like a problem where sometimes I would compare myself to like I don't know, like let's say like the Trevor Noah show or some shit, or
Oh
like
my gosh,
anything,
yeah.
any big show, right? And
I
I'll be
know.
like, man,
Yeah.
why's my work not look like that? Or
Yeah,
like,
I'm
why
like,
is
what?
it? Yeah, and then I
How do you get
forget.
it like that?
I'm like, yo, shit, they have a whole team of people, you know?
I
Like
was like,
I'm
damn, they
working
got like
one
an
person.
$18,000 camera, like, or like,
Yeah. Like, you know, I definitely 100% beat up on myself for like when I'm just one person. I'm just one person working on this. And thankfully I got the support of my wife. That's it. That makes a huge difference. So big shout out to partners
right?
that
Yeah.
support each other. I was telling him how I love both of you, been so consistent and putting so much work into what you do. Yeah, 100%. I gotta salute you for longevity, consistency, man.
Yeah,
'Cause
likewise, man.
100%. I
Yeah.
know the grind, bro.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I think the hardest, and obviously, you can attest to that. The hardest thing is just sticking to it and sticking it out, and just getting up and doing it. Like that's if you just get up and do it, like,
Yeah.
and you're passionate about it, and like, yeah, you're gonna have days that you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing it or whatever. But like at the end of the day, you love doing it, and that's what makes you happy. That's what makes me happy, and that shows. I think that always translates into the work that we do.
Hell yeah. And what do you hope listeners take away from your podcast? Like, do you talk about yourself, obviously. So like, do you talk about DACA and like resources people that can get through there?
Yeah, I think I do talk about like resources. I talked a lot about myself earlier on the episodes, and sometimes I do when I do like interviews with people. But I think the biggest thing that I want people to take away from my podcast is to never stop learning. Just like always strive to know more, because it's never a bad thing to know more of something. And like especially for like immigrants and like first gen in the United States, you want to know how this system is built so that you can navigate it, because it works in, some people, some colleagues that I know that also like immigrants and or DACA recipients, they're purposely oblivious to the financial aspect of like the US and all that. But you can't do that, because this, like, the United States is integrated in that, like in finance, and the economy is built on that, and it's so intricate that that's what I try to communicate as well, is trying to help other immigrants and people that want to listen, how to navigate that by applying for like bank loans, or getting your first credit card, which things that you can do that you might not think you're able to do as an immigrant. And yeah, at the end of the day, like, the United States is a business, and if you learn to navigate that, the better footing you're gonna have here, and the more that you're gonna be able to develop yourself here.
Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, 100%. And you did a great piece on like all the misinformation that gets put out there through apps like
Right.
WhatsApp and Signal, and like things that target
Yes.
older Latinos, older Latinas who are
Yes.
susceptible to just seeing a headline that's like shocking and provocative, and they'll just run with it without reading the full details, checking who the source is coming from. They just believe memes. Like, they get their news from memes. So we definitely need more people like you that's like
Yeah.
putting out actual information and telling people, this is just a tidbit. Start off here, and then keep doing your own research, like, because that's super important. People need media,
Yeah.
like media literacy training.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Media literacy training and like financial literacy are like the two. I feel like the two biggest ones. For sure. And that just brings us back again for people taking things like at face value, right? They'll see a meme and just be like, "Oh wow, this happened and that," and it's like, no, well, did you look it up like from a reliable source? Is that even true? Or like kind of like similar, like your parents. I don't know if this happened to you. Your parents like, "Oh my god, like so and so died." I'm like, "What? So and so died?" And I go check. I'm like, "Mom, that's not even real." like that, and I'm like, man, like developing that extra step of like just going to Google and checking like from a reliable source is another thing I try to communicate. It's just curiosity, like I said, like being like intellectually curious is I've always been like that, and I've always it's what led to me being here today. So I
Hey.
think it's the greatest thing you can do is just teach. It's just always work on yourself. You know.
Yes. Hey, and so what are some like future goals and aspirations for what you're doing? Like, what is it that you want to do with all this? Do you like envision yourself as like a full-time creator, or what does success look like for you?
Yeah, I think success for me would be a full time creator. I think the thing is like I love it so much that it would be I would just love to do this like all the time, like 24/7, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um and ultimately I think the goal that I do want to do is like have some kind of whether I guess it would have to be like an organization like maybe like a nonprofit or even if it is for profit, if it helps some kind of an organization that helps immigrants, Latinos, and just evolve from that for anyone that wants that type of resource. But mainly like Latinos that want to get um, ahead in the U.S. And I want to put up like I think I envision just putting up kind of like you ever seen like Kumon? Like I think it's like it's those like um where you go and like they teach you things like it's like outside of school.
Classes,
Um, I
community
know it's called.
classes,
It's called like they're called it's called Kumon, and it's
Kumon.
basically like yeah, it's basically like people that you go there and they'll like teach you math and like stuff. It's just extra like um classes like that. But I envision like a bigger thing than that. Like I
Hey.
envision like you come in like to this certain center and um you can come in and do your work because not everyone like on a computer and do your work, not everyone has access to a computer or and yeah, you can go to like a library and do that, but like even then when you go to a library, like you won't some people don't feel like like I said, they don't feel like they're integrated with the community,
Mm-hmm.
and you might be off put to go into a library. And I've seen it not so much in Jersey, but I've heard it. I shouldn't say I've seen it, but I've heard it from other immigrants where they go to a library and they'll just be like denied a card just because of how they look.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's like denying your education, denying you like your education
Mm-hmm.
and ability to move up in this country. So it's just like, I hate to hear that because it shouldn't be that way. But yeah, just kind of like a resource center, really. I think that's the ultimate goal. Like if I make like millions and all this thing, I'm like I want to invest my money into building this these type of centers where you can just come in and you have access to even like just like the internet, like the internet, books, a tutor, someone that will help you navigate college. I think that would be huge.
Mm.
And as well as like lawyers, like immigrant lawyers, like it's just one place to have all those resources
Mm-hmm.
is huge. I feel like because it's so spread out and like yeah, it's on the internet, but again, you have to be knowledgeable enough to use Google and know how to use it.
Hey.
So it's just,
Yes.
I think that's the ultimate like dream and goal.
Bro, that's a very honorable dream and a very thought out plan, man. Like I ain't thought of that far through. I'm like, yo, I just gotta get to full time creator so that I
Yeah,
have
no.
I
Well,
have
that's
the
just like
freedom
full-time
to
creator. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like
so that I
full-time
have the
creator
freedom.
and
That's all that I'm
so
looking for really is like the freedom to be able to like,
yeah.
oh, I want to wake up today and go do this. Like,
Right.
because currently I'm doing a full-time job and then when I get home I'm like, yo,
Right.
I got to put out some content. I'm
I
tired as
know.
hell, but I got to edit
Right.
this little piece right here like
Yeah.
and
And it's
so
tough. That's tough from that aspect, not to cut you off, but
yeah, yeah.
it's tough from that aspect because like you said, you get home and it's just like I've been working my job is remote, but I'm looking at the screen all day
Mhm.
and then my like podcast and all that is all online too. So it's just like,
Mhm.
man, I'm just tired of like
All day
like
looking at screens,
yeah,
sitting down too. It's
yeah.
not good for your posture.
Yeah, and sitting down, she's like, "Damn, I need to go walk or something, or go to the gym for a little
Yeah.
bit." Like,
Straight up, straight up.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Queens.
yeah.
Somebody said Queen said in chat. Also looking for freedom to do whatever the fuck I want. Hell yeah, I admire the hustle you guys have. Hey,
Oh,
big
thank
salute
you.
to y'all because
Yeah,
I
shout
know
out.
immigration lawyer work is not easy. That's a lot of work. So
That's a headache.
always
Oh
admire you.
God.
I
Yeah.
admire you, Queen.
Yeah, for real.
Um,
We need y'all. We need
For
y'all.
real,
So.
doing the Lord's work.
Mhm.
Girl, I
Mhm.
have been thinking of a digital platform like that, but a center is much more accessible because so many so many don't have access to computers or don't know how to navigate it. Yeah, and that's like
Yes,
that would be a
that's a big
huge,
part of it.
and
Yeah.
we need more of that. Like I feel like the advent of the internet gave us these communities and things that we could be a part of from all different parts of the world. But that like in person, like knowing, hey, there's somewhere down the block where I could go spend my time, and I could send my kids there to spend their time so that they don't get involved in gangs or drugs or they don't get
That's
caught
the
up
other
in
thing
anything.
too. Yeah, and that was another like thought process behind it is yeah, like a lot of people that a lot of like my classmates they didn't have something to do after school, right? Like
Yeah.
they didn't go to sports because they don't want to be around like the kids with, or they couldn't even afford to have the equipment for the sports.
Hmm.
So what they did is just hung out after school and just well, like just we're up to no good, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, straight
And
up.
they
Nothing
don't
else to
have,
do.
because they don't have like anything else to do. So let's go do something like
Yeah. That's
else.
how a lot
And
of people get caught up in opiates and like
yes,
any type of drug. They're just like,
exactly.
yo, ain't shit to do but get drunk.
Yeah.
And
And you know what? You know what the other problem is too is like, our parents work, most of our parents work like two jobs. So it's like you don't want to go back home either. Like no one's gonna be there. So it's just like you
yeah.
don't want to go home, and your parents probably think you're home, and you're probably gonna lie and tell them that you're home.
Hmm.
But like, but like with these, I feel like this having this place to be at and go to and take you through, maybe even help you with like your schoolwork and stuff is would be great. And it's just it'd be a place to go and help you thrive, um, and get to a better place.
That's what's up, man. I totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally agree with all that. All right. So we are coming to the end of the live part of the interview. I just want to have you, I'm going to put you up real quick on the hot seat right here where we're going to do some rapid association. I'm going to just say a word or two, and then I just want you to tell me, like, what's the first thing you think of when you say that?
Oh gosh! All right.
You don't got to think too hard. Just
Yeah.
whatever comes to mind first, and then we'll go from there. We'll try and break down some of that. Okay. So let me know when you're ready.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. DACA.
We need more. We need more.
Need more.
Yeah, it's been there too long. Sorry.
Okay. Obama.
Good guy.
Good guy. Okay.
I'd invite him to my carne asada. Yeah.
The people that say, "Why don't you come here the right way?"
They are just ignorant, and they obviously haven't done enough research into immigration laws in their own country, which is all part of that ignorant part. It's just, how do you not know like your own laws?
Okay. The American dream.
It's can be toxic. It can be toxic to immigrants, but it's not wrong to strive for it, to your own version of the American dream.
Okay. AI and technology.
Oh, I love it, but it I want to see how far it's gonna get. Is it getting out of hand? No, I don't know. I don't think we've seen the full extent of it yet, so I can't really tell if it's getting out of hand. But I'm here for it to see how far we could take AI.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. 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 Democracy.
Democracy is good if done right.
Good if done right. Okay. Okay. Ron DeSantis.
Kind of clueless to that one.
Okay. Greg Abbott.
Um, he just get him out.
Just get him out.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw you recently did like a story on the H-1B visas.
Yeah.
And what Greg Abbott was doing down there.
I know it's so dumb. Like, how can you vote for this guy? Like,
Yeah, I got the two immigration
got a
lawyer
lot of-
friends. The two friends that I got here, they're from Texas, and they're right now saying yes, please
okay.
get him out of here.
yeah. Like, what? No, what makes me more mad is also like Latinos that vote for this guy. It's just like, again, that comes back to like our own community. We're just kind of like just messing ourselves up, like to move forward.
Okay. Hey. All right, let's continue with this. Guatemala.
Love it. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my God, so many beautiful like sights to see. If someone has the opportunity to go there, definitely go there. It's such a beautiful country. And I'm not biased at all.
We got here fiambre.
Fiambre?
Am I saying that right? Fiambre?
Yeah, it looks right, but I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. They keep saying, what is that, tsundere? Because they said it twice. They said fiambre, carajo, es comidita. Is that from Guatemala?
Oh, okay. Is it like? I don't think I have had it. Okay.
You've had it?
I just didn't know the name for it.
What is that? I'm about
It's just
to look it up.
I guess it's like a salad, like mixed like with chorizo and like all that good stuff.
Oh, hold up.
Yeah.
They got some. Let me see if I can.
It was like a tradition. Yeah. It's like all this stuff that I think was traditionally taken to like dead families and stuff.
What is
like
fiambre made of? Ingredients usually include numerous sausages, cold cuts, pickled baby corn, onions, beets, pacaya, flour, different cheeses, olives, chicken. Oh my God, Brussels sprouts. This dish varies from family to family.
Yeah, it's like loaded.
Hey,
like
so
like a salad. It's like a salad. Just
it's a big salad. Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff. So wait, what if I could just break off from this real quick? What are some like traditional foods that you've eaten from Guatemala that you're like more accustomed to maybe growing up with?
So caldo de res, love that. Mom makes it banging caldo de res. Yeah, caldo de res. But also carne de res, yeah. And as well as chuchitos, which is this like tamale, which is really good.
What's that?
And tamales, obviously.
Chuchitos?
Yeah, chuchitos. Yeah, chuchitos. It's just like a smaller version. Oh my God, I'm like obsessed with chuchitos. Like,
oh damn, they look just like tamales, like the wrapping.
Yeah, they are tamales, but they're just like a little like a smaller version of them. And it's just, it's so good. It's just thicker and. You know, it's just more simple. It's like a simpler version, but they're so easy to eat. They're like small, and you can just. And obviously tamales, like obviously tamales. I love tamales.
That's what's up, man. I gotta get some of these.
You shouldn't. You love them. I'm telling you.
Cause I love like the sauce. I love anything that's just like real easy to transport
with the
and
sauce,
eat.
bro.
Oh, that's like delicious, bro. Hell yeah.
So that's my favorite like thing from Guatemala. But,
hey, yeah, I'm hungry now too. We definitely got to get some Guatemala food. I know New York has a little bit of everything. I just gotta find it.
I'm sure you have one like at the corner of the street, like,
right around here.
Yeah. You'll find them a lot in New York.
Okay, now just to finish this off, what's it called? Latinos and Latinas.
We should come together. Yeah, we should come together. I think there's a lot of like this. It's so split between Latinos and Latinas, like mentality wise, and like and just how. Like machismo plays a role into that and all that. So I mean that's a whole freaking like conversation.
Other convo.
But yeah, I think we need to be more united on that again. But it's so tough. It's so tough.
So tough. And now I want to get into a little bit of what you said before. When we brought up democracy, you said good if done in the right way. What do you mean by that?
I think that democracy is good with the. I think they always went like everyone's the thing about democracy is like you want to hear everyone's voice is heard, right? But it's not always everyone's voice is heard, and you could see that in the US and like when they have these like politicians trying to get into office and they have the elections, and also just how like the popular vote in the US is pretty like insignificant. Like like it's just there, but at the end of the day the popular vote doesn't mean anything. And it's just like, wow, that's crazy. So it's very intricate the way that's done, and it's just no transparency. And so I mean it could be good, but I think out of all the other systems, I think Democratic is probably is the best one.
The best
system.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, I think it's the best system, and I think that kind of holds true. Just to seeing also how people voices sometimes you can't express yourself in the U.S. right? Other countries like you could even die for that. Like So
Yeah, man. And then another thing that I had brought up was like the people that say like, why don't you come here the right way?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important to share stories like yours so that people understand what it even takes, because I feel like when they say that, it's from a complete place of ignorance where they just think it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, you just like do a couple clicks on this website
Right.
and then you should be all right, and you just wait for it. It's like they don't know the
Yeah.
money that goes into it. They don't know the time that goes into it. They don't know that like there's so much paperwork that a lot of people, English is not their first language, and now they got to
Yep.
get through filing all this, and lawyer
Yeah.
fees are not cheap as well. So
Yeah.
you know, if we could
It's
provide a little bit more just aspect to that so that those people
yeah.
understand how hard it is.
Yeah, it's tough. A lot of people, like you said, a lot of people say that that you could just why don't you just take like a test and like and do it the right way, apply. The biggest one I've heard is like apply for it and then like they just think you'll magically be approved in like a month. There's big factors that go into it. Biggest one being money and time. The two biggest factors. Like money is just so much money for paying a lawyer, and you can easily see 10 grand just go out the window for an application to apply,
Mhm.
and like it's so trying to apply and wasting that much money. I mean, you're just seeing it as like wasting money, like, but it's tough on that end, and the time that you need for it, and the laws that are written. It's just like you have to actually be knowledgeable in your own laws for people that say that. Like, how do you not realize that it's not just about coming over here and all of a sudden you can be legally or applying from your own country and all of a sudden you're accepted. Like
Mhm.
there's wait lists that people have been on for like years, and it's just it's a savage process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
straight up, man. And that's why, like, thank you for all you do. I know it would be real easy to just like, become a DACA recipient and then kind of just lay low and just hope, like, that you get
Yeah.
onto a pathway to citizenship. But you're out here trying to provide resources and information for other people so that they know, like, look, this is out there. This is available to you. You just don't know about it. And this could help you in this
Yeah.
way if you just knew how to access it. So, like, super, super
Yeah.
thanks to you and all the work that you do, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate you having me on your platform to even get that message spread further across. Yeah.
Hey, hell yeah. And now, so as we start winding down, I did ask you if you had a story for the Chancleta Chronicles. I'm trying
Oh,
to do this
yeah.
new segment where I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
speak to
yeah.
Latinos, because the chancleta is like a universal symbol in Latin America of like,
Yes,
oh,
sir.
damn, you did something wrong. You about to get
Yeah.
the chancleta. So if
Yeah.
there's like any story you're open to like speaking about, like where you got in trouble and you could talk about it.
Yeah. I think this is probably like the biggest chancleta story ever. It's just like, so I can't remember. I think I was 4 years old. My sister was 5. So this was back when we were in Guatemala, and my mom. So my grandma doesn't live too far from us. So my my mom was just like, all right, watch over your brother. I'm just gonna go right quick to your grandma's. Um, Whatever you do, don't touch anything like sharp or like the knife or anything like that. So soon as she's like out of sight, what do we do when you're a kid? What you hear is like, "Yo, sharp things, like let's touch it." Like, like we'd be like a little kid, so sharp things, yeah, why not? So my sister, of course, being the enabler, she's like, "Hey, like, can you build me a house with this like wooden block?" Um, so I was like, "Oh yeah, I can do that. I'm 5 years old. I can do anything." And I take the wooden block and put it on the ground, and I grab a machete to
God damn.
yeah, I try the machete to like slice it down to try to build a house. But first hit, my thumb is in front of it, and I hit my thumb with the machete, and now I have this like gnarly scar from it.
Oh.
But it
So were
was
you bleeding?
oh yeah, it was like blood gushing everywhere. My sister
And what
screamed.
she was screaming?
Yeah, my sister was screaming. So my mom comes running. Like I told, like we're mad close. So my mom comes running, and she's like, she's like, "Yo, what happened? I told you not to like touch sharp things on." And obviously, I had to like get rushed to get seen and got stitches. And I don't know if you can like kind of see in the camera, but like I have this scar on my thumb from
Oh, I
it.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, bro. And that
And
sucks because they wanna reprimand you and they wanna yell at you and stuff, but you're like they're
I know,
bleeding.
but yeah. So she's like, I can't even. Obviously, like after I was on bed, I'm like, I told you guys not to like touch this stuff. But like, yeah, that was bad. My sister and I got into like some stuff when we were little kids. Um,
Damn, that's dope, man. And it's dope. Like
yeah,
throughout this interview, she's consistently came up. So like it seems like
yeah,
y'all have had like a really good relationship, and that's what's up. Like, cause y'all only like a
yeah.
year apart.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Only being a year apart and sharing the same struggles growing up, in our own ways, right? And growing up together and coming here as kids, and yeah, so we're close, and obviously have that like sister brother, or like, whatever relationship you have with your sibling, that
Yeah.
sibling relationship where like sometimes you hate each other and like yelling at each other and whatever, but at the end of the day it's like, they're family, and
Yeah.
like they're there for you, and all that.
Hey, that's what's up, man. Hey, somebody said, "Damn, homie was gonna add thumb to the fiambre."
Yo, facts. Yeah, and
Hey,
yeah, that's funny too, because well, funny, but kind of like, damn, like
damn,
now
yeah.
now it's funny. Back then, it's like, damn.
It's funny
If
because
I
you
was
still got your thumb, bro. Like
right, yeah,
if you didn't
exactly.
have a thumb, you'd be
Nah.
like, "That wasn't funny."
No, that wasn't funny. And and the doctor too said that if it was like even like an inch closer or anything, like deeper, I should say, like they would have to just take my thumb off. Like so,
Damn, that's real, bro. That's so real,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
it's
god. Damn. All
pretty
right. Well,
crazy,
that's an
man.
amazing. Thank you for that story to the Chancleta
Yeah.
Chronicles, man. That was
Yep.
a real good one, bro. And now, you said you had a couple slang words from Guatemala that you could
Yeah.
teach us. Yo, I would love to
Yeah.
learn.
Okay, yeah. So I already said chapin and chapina, which is just someone that's from Guatemala. Another one is pisto. Pisto just means money, but it's just used like a lot
So,
as slang.
in like a sentence, how would you say it?
No tengo pisto
No
hasta que
tengo
me
pisto.
paguen.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Tráeme el
Así es.
pisto.
Yeah,
You
or
say it
like
like that.
tienes pisto, like like you
Tienes
got money,
pisto.
or like
That's so
it's such a
interesting. I
weird
never
word.
heard
Yeah,
that.
I know it's such a weird word. So that means money. So,
Pisto.
if you ever want to use that one, or you hear it, then you probably like, oh, that person's probably Guatemalan. Like,
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Chapin
yep,
and pisto.
yeah,
Any
and
other ones?
I have casaca, which is kind of like a lie, like a small lie.
Hmm.
A sentence for that would be like, me dijo una casaca sobre su familia. So it's
Okay.
like a lie.
Una casaca.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to say like está hablando casaca. It would be like eso es
Casacas,
casaca.
yeah. You'd be like, it's hablando, solo son. You would say like solo son casacas, like it's just
Solo son
lies,
casacas.
like like.
And then somebody, could you say like someone's a casacador, like a liar?
Yeah,
Un
yeah, you can
casacador.
do that. Yeah,
That's
that's
what's
true.
up. Hey, thank you so
Um,
much for teaching me that,
yeah,
man.
yep. So that's another one.
Uh-huh.
I think another one that I'm pretty sure it's one I want to is chute. So
Chute.
yeah, so like that means like someone that's nosy. So like
Nosy.
yeah, it just means that they're nosy. Like eres chute, or like no te voy a decir nada porque sos chute. Like
Porque eres chute. So
yeah.
like I've heard like metiche, someone who's like always in someone's business.
Oh yeah, like
Es
someone's
bien
business. Yeah,
metiche.
that's similar. Yeah. Yep.
Chute.
Yeah.
No te voy a decir porque eres chute.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
of
for
course.
teaching me that. I love like learning about different cultures because I don't get to interact with too many people from Central America, from Guatemala. You know, I mainly know like Dominicans, Colombians, and oh, somebody asked, what about groserias? Of course, they want to know the bad words.
It's not even that bad. Oh, like okay.
They want to know a
I have
bad
one.
word.
Yeah. Okay, like groserías. Okay, I think I have one. Is I think the biggest like Guatemalan like slang for that aspect would be like, that's not as bad but still like heavy, is cerote. And then
Cerote.
Yeah, cerote. Just and it's always used like so it's traditionally always used offensively, but it can be like if you're throwing it around with your friends as
With
well.
your homies?
It's yeah, but it basically means like you're like a turd or like like so
Cerote. Oh,
yeah,
so like you could say it in a bad way. You could be like,
yeah,
ese hombre es un cerote.
yeah, kind
Or
of
with
like
your friends, you could be like, hey, ¿qué pasa, cerote?
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah,
I like that, man. There's some words like that in Colombian culture where it's like, that sounds offensive, but then I'll hear like my wife's little brother saying it like casually, so normal, and she
yeah,
explains like that's how you say it to your friends.
yep.
Thank you so much, man. Hey,
Mhm.
please do shout yourself out. Like, let everybody know where they can hear you. Plug yourself in.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing time, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me as well. I enjoyed our conversation, every aspect of it. And, if you ever want to stay up to date what I'm doing or reach out to me, I'm always answering like DMs from people because like I said, I love that interaction of having with listeners and just people that are interested in the subjects that I put out there. Um, you can find all my social media and the podcast and everything at latinoamericaneo.org. But you can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you can think of, YouTube, by just typing in at Latin America Neo. Or you can just go to, again, latinoamericaneo.org and it'll just link you to it. And then for the podcast, you can just find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really wherever you can think of consuming, or wherever you do consumer podcasts, you can find it there by just searching Latin American Educational Opportunities podcast. And yeah, so I look forward to if you guys want to reach out to talking with y'all.
Hell yeah. That's what's up. And all the links will be definitely in the notes, in the description of everything. Gracias, Kevin Primo, por la sabiduría. Good job, everyone from
Yeah, of
Queen.
course.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
all for
being
being
here.
here. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much to the chat. I always say y'all definitely help everything move smoother.
Hmm.
Y'all give great input. Y'all give good questions that, I don't get to think of.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you so much. That was the live portion of our interview. Now we will be going offline to continue our interview for some bonus content. That will be stuff that you can access on the Patreon, which I haven't launched yet. But when I do launch it, it will be there. So everybody,
Let's
big shout out to
go.
you. Make sure to go check out Kevin. Super dope dude. Honestly, man, like you were telling parts of your story today, and I was like, oh, that's me. Oh, I relate to that. Oh, he on point. So honestly, man, thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much for being here. I appreciate the hell out of you, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
That's what's up. All right, now let me everybody, thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing night. Thank you. Like I said, we are going to continue our interview. We are just going to be doing it, recording locally. That way, that's bonus content that you can access if you join the Patreon. Thank you all so much. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good, so that you know when I go live next and when you can join me in on some great content. Everybody, deuce. Thank you so much. Peace.